A report by an online safety group has found that parents who are aware of their children's online behaviour get more positives from using technology. The year-long study revealed children who say their parents are on their phone quite a lot had more negative experiences. Well, joining us now is Jim Gamble. He's Chief Executive of INEQE Safeguarding Group. Very good morning to you. Warm welcome to the programme. So, in summary, I suppose you could conclude that this study shows that, as in all parenting, example is everything.
Well, of course, parenting by example is key. The study doesn't actually tell anyone who's been involved in this area of work anything new. The problem that we know is that parents generally abdicate responsibility. In a recent survey and in a review linked to Everyone's Invited that I've just completed, we found that 95% of parents with children who were under 13, so not supposed to be on social media, knew their child was on and had actually given them some form of tacit or even explicit approval. Parents are busy. Lockdown is a great example of that. They were busy with homeschooling, they were busy with working from home, and children had a greater level of freedom over the year than they had ever had in the online environment. You know, live streaming, children going on trying to build their own audience went up by 17% in the first 2 weeks. And in that live streaming, children could be encouraged in the moment to do things they perhaps wouldn't have done if they'd had time to think. So the key in all of this, I don't think, is refreshing our knowledge that this impacts girls more, that parents who don't engage are less likely to be able to help, that boys are involved in more gaming, and the time they spend online can be less constructive. I think what we really need are practical examples. We need information provided to parents when there's a trend so that they know what it is and they know what they can do to mitigate the harm and how and when to have a conversation with their child.
And there surely has to be more support for parents, because my instinct as a parent reading this is the parent guilt once again creeping in. And you talked about how children have had access to technology in a way like never before because of the lockdowns. But you could also say parents have had pressure and stresses on them, as we were just discussing in the papers during lockdown, unlike any other time before, also trying to work from home whilst the kids are homeschooling, etc. It's a very big minefield for the parents, to try and navigate.
Well, that's the truth, and I listened with interest to your review on the papers. There are 650,000 social care referrals every year. So we've got a system under pressure. And when they went out of line of sight, when the doors were closed and people were in lockdown, there were plenty of children who actually were in a much, much more vulnerable situation. And if you take a child who is physically, emotionally or sexually abused at home, who suffers neglect, when they go online, their vulnerability is exacerbated and pathways to harm open much more quickly, whether it's radicalization, sexualization, or gang affiliation. They go online with that vulnerability and they're looking for the greatest gift of all, which is actually friendship, someone to acknowledge them and to engage with them. So that's been a high-risk period. But I think parents, can go online and do their shopping. They can go to one of the big chains and order their groceries or order clothes. I think it's about taking the time to go online and search out information about how do you stay safe. And you do that from credible resources. Eamon, who's with you on the show, helped me launch an app several years ago. Now, nearly half the schools in the UK are now entitled to the Safer Schools app. And that's an app which parents can have, which when there's an issue, whether it's Blue Whale, whether it's the Momo Challenge, whether it's any of those things which blow up in a single week, they get a push notification to say, look, here's what the problem is. Here's what the solution would be, and here's how and when you talk to your child. So I think we've got to give parents practical tips, but we've also got, to hold parents to account. You have your children. It's your responsibility to make sure they're safe. We blame the social media companies, and that's fine, but parents also need to do their bit. And of course, so do government, because government like what's cheap. Reports are on paper. What government needs to do is invest in social care so that our children's mental health is better protected. And they need to invest in frontline policing, which they haven't done for the last 10 years. Policing has been denuded of resource. So when you go online, there are fewer police officers making sure that environment is safe. So government are good at pointing the finger, as are others, not so good at looking in the mirror.